All right, here we are again. I'm Jill from the Smiling Goat, and today we are making a wood tray with beautiful oil rubbed bronze handles on each side. And I'm going to show you a new method of putting paint on. We're almost going to make a paint into a stain to do this tray. It comes with a stencil as well that we will do after we get the base done. So you have this tray, and I am going to start with a turquoisey blue color, and that's going to stain the top of the tray. And after that's dry, we'll do the stenciling in a beautiful dark brown. So you might be wondering where your brushes are at. We're not using brushes today. If I can get them out, are going to be using the baby wipe method to put this paint on. So the wet that's in the baby wipe is just the perfect amount that when you rub it, it takes off a lot of the paint so that the paint is just a thin coat. And this already has a top coat built into it, so we don't have to do anything else with it. So I'm just going to dip into some paint, not a lot, and rub in the direction of the wood for the most part. If I have to go a different direction, I'll just straighten up my rubbing strokes. And this will leave us where we can see the beautiful grain of the wood through the wash of this acrylic paint. You want to get in all the spots. You can do the bottom side, you can do the edges, do the whole thing, and rub this in. When your baby wipe starts getting a little bit too dry, either turn it over so you can wash away some of this paint as it goes on, or grab yourself a new baby wipe. They're just baby wipes. Is that my manicure? All right. So I'm going to do this whole thing. Oh, before I turn off and show you, you might be wondering, what do you do around these handles? Well, you just wipe it on, and if you get any on your handle, you just wipe it off. That way you get right up next to it, that you don't have to worry about getting paint. You don't have to tape anything off. Just keep dipping. This takes very little paint. I actually used some from a leftover project that I was using, like to make my sample and stuff. And so that is more than enough. That's maybe a tablespoon of paint. So with this method, if you like doing this with the baby wipe, you can use any type of paint to do this. You can use, this is a high quality paint, but you could use a cheaper, just a craft paint from the store, and you're going to get pretty much the same look. So you could even mix colors. You can add more. So I'm going to turn you off here while I finish my staining, and you guys go right ahead and stain yours too, and when you're all finished, turn me back on. I'm back. I have my board all the way stained with my paint. It didn't take me maybe 5 minutes to do. I did the edges. I did not do the bottom. Some of you may have done the bottom, or maybe you'll want to do the bottom when you're finished. So the next step, after it's dry to the touch, is putting on the stencil. I love this verse. Count it all joy, James 1:2. It just speaks to me. It's no matter what happens, you look for the good and you count it all as joy. And that gives you a lot of relief in those hard times, that knows that one day we can look back and count that as something joyful in there as well. So count it all joy is just a daily reminder of that, and that's why I chose this verse to put on my board. I'm doing dark brown to match this oil rubbed bronze handle too. And that's why I chose the colors. Something that spoke to me. So anyway, your vinyl stencil is done on stencil vinyl. It's on a silicone sprayed paper backing. so that it comes off fairly easily. And then I have put a piece of clear, you can see it's not adhered well here, a piece of clear, it's called transfer tape, over the top to help us lift this off that backing. So in transit, some of this may have come a little loose, so I need you to press all of the white down hard onto this clear transfer tape, because we're going to throw away that blue paper and we don't want the white sticking to the paper anymore. We want it sticking to the clear checkered lined transfer tape. So I turn it upside down. I just find it easier to get the blue paper off if my white is laying flat, and then I can just peel back my transfer tape. It came off very cleanly. If you had not pressed really well, or as well as you thought you had, there might be some white still stuck here. Don't let that happen. So if you're pulling off and there's still white, press it back down before you finish peeling, because then your word may not say, it might say something else. I don't know. If you pulled off this E in James, it might say Jamos or something. Anyway, you want it to be very flat. So I'm going to do this away from you, but towards me. I'm going to stand up so I can see over this. Now this square is a 12-inch square of, well, almost, but it's perfectly square. So if you can have a hand here and a hand here, you can kind of tell I needed to move mine over just a little bit. I have a little bit more hand show or space between my hand to there. So since I haven't pressed it down really well, I might be able to get it up, or it may just have to live there. Don't. Oh. That's not good either. I forgot to stand up. Oh, look at that O. It's coming off. You see? You see what I'm saying? What Not to Do by Jill Creamer. All right, I'm going to do it right this time and be happy. Now the checks may not be straight because I put that on, and you know, I'm pretty crazy. So anyway, I'm going to call that good. That looks good enough. And press that down really well. Because now I want my white vinyl to stick to my board. And I want to be able to take this clear off. And to take the clear off, I roll it off. If I lifted it off, I'm going to lift up all those little pieces that I tried so hard to stick down. But if I roll it off, they're more likely to stay put. And I don't have to work so hard at it. This is trash. That blue backing is trash. I'm going to press again. So now I'm going to take my cosmetic sponge and my little bitty, maybe a teaspoon this time, barely any paint, and I'm going to dip in my sponge and wipe off all the extra on the edge there. So there's none hardly on my sponge anymore. It's pretty dry because when I tap it on, I don't want there to be enough paint to flow underneath my stencil. So I take it off, maybe take off some extra over here to the side and tap. I'm also not pressing. If I was pressing, I would be forcing paint underneath my stencil. I don't want that either. The lighter the coat of paint, the happier you are going to be. It's going to be much more crisp. You won't have feathering as much around your letters. Sometimes, no matter what you do, you're going to get a little bit of feathering just because the nature of the wood, it's going to have grain where paint's going to get underneath your stencil. But this is keeping it from being overabundant of feathering. Overabundance, maybe. So, tap. If you see your neighbor tapping hard, pressing paint in, reminder, hey, you're going to have to let up on that a little bit because I want you to be happy. So yes, it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to take a little bit more work, but you're enjoying yourselves. Maybe you have a snack or something. Go slow, light taps. Also, since there's a group of you all doing the same thing, you may need to find a Sharpie or something and put your signature on the bottom of this. That way, if you go hang out, watch a movie, go eat supper, go do something, and you come back and then you're like, oh, they all look the same. You can just tip it over, oops, and find it. You can also commemorate the date that way. You getting together with your friends or family or your church group, and it could be like, oh yeah, we did that on November whatever, 2018. So I'm going to turn you off again. You don't have to watch me tap. I'm going to tap, tap, tap until I can't tap no more. And then I'm going to come and do another coat, the same way of tapping, until I have the coverage I want. Luckily, brown covers pretty well, and it probably won't take more than 2 coats, maybe 3, but if we were doing 5, we were looking at 4 or 5 coats. Did I say 5? I said white. I don't know what I said, but if we were doing a lighter color that hasn't got as much pigment in it, it would take longer. So keep tapping. When everybody's finished, turn me back on. Okay, I'm back. I did 2 coats of brown. I let the first set of tappings dry completely and then tapped again. If I'd let it wet and then tapped, I would have just been lifting up the first coat. So if you notice that happening to you, if you're like, I just can't get that spot to cover, let it dry completely and then let it cover. Because if it's damp, shiny at all there, you're just going to be lifting up that first coat. So I grabbed myself, because I have these fingernails that don't grab anything, I grabbed myself a utility knife. You can use a steak knife. You can use your fingernails. You can use your friend's fingernails. Let them do it for you. But I'm going to use this to help me get started lifting up my vinyl. Now this is trash again. We are having a lot of trash. So rip it off like a Band-Aid. As long as it's not wet. If it's wet, you could still, but you have to be so careful because you don't want to accidentally let it fall over with wet paint on it onto your pretty blue. So if it's dry, there's nothing it's going to do except yank off. So here we go. Keep yanking. I really appreciate you all doing this with me. I love doing craft classes, and if you ever get a chance to come to the Smiling Goat, I hope you do. But I only do about 12 or so classes a month because I have a family and other obligations too, and sometimes things, if I could be here all the time, I would. I just can't. But this gives me a chance to do what I love to do and pass it on to you all in a place where it's convenient and at a time that's convenient for you. Now then, you may be noticing when you're pulling off your stencils that you're pulling off a little bit of that bluish paint. That is to be expected. I'm going to show you how to fix that. You have 2 choices. Leave it because it's rustic and lovely, or touch it up. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, look at all these little pieces like in this A. Get that off. Ouch. Don't poke yourself. It's dangerous. Ouch. Oh my goodness, that is so pretty. So pretty. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. I pulled off a little bit of paint right there. Let me go grab my blue and another baby wipe. Should have had this thought out. Okay. Back. Just a little bit of blue on a baby wipe, and anywhere that you may have pulled up some paint, wipe it off. Or wipe it in, I guess. Why would you wipe it off? There. Beautiful. I know it's backwards for you. And I don't know how to make that better, but I love, love, love this. I love the colors. I love the scripture. I hope you love it as much as I do. Thank you so much again. It's finished. Good to go. There's a top coat built in your paint. Once it's cured, you can scrub it. It won't wipe off anymore. It is perfect. If you want it shiny, you could put some kind of food safe polyurethane on it. You could put a wax over this if you want it to have that shine instead of the matte feel. That's acceptable too, but it's perfect the way it is. So there's nothing else you need to do except enjoy it. Bye-bye.